All right, welcome to a short presentation part of the Precepting workshop. This is just going over the Preceptor Expectations that ESB Education and Training have worked on to establish for you guys. Hopefully, this is educational and helpful. Always looking for feedback, so let's dive right into it. Preceptor Expectations. All right, just an overview. We're going to be going over the phases of the precepting process. Uh, the fact that we need to be kind, setting expectations, confrontation, and preceptors need to do their shift review. One second. All right, so let's get into the next slide here. Sorry about that. Phases of the precepting process. The whole thing is called the ALS Clinician Development Course, ACDC. Um, it uses both the Virtual Academy and Platinum Planner, as everyone is aware. The thing about the Virtual Academy side is that it has all the assignments and all the requirements and all the documents that explain the whole process in greater detail. So I've disseminated those documents out to all of you in the past. If you need another copy, please reach out. I'll give you another copy. Your student or the ALS candidate also has access to that and can print you out one as well. It's all the same. Um, so the another thing to note about the whole process itself is that we have like minimum requirements for patient encounters, like 15 adult patients, 10 geriatric patients, need to do 5 intubations, which are going to go to the OR hopefully and get most of those knocked out so we don't waiting for intubations. um Need to do like 10 IVs, get 2 refusals, stuff like that. Those are some minimums that they have to meet before they can move on to the final phase, which is right here, the ALS team leader evaluation phase, um, where they're going to be evaluated and their capability of being a team lead and a solo clinician, an independent clinician. So the formative phase is the first phase. It's formative because the ALS candidate is being informed on how we do EMS here in Howard County. The only real requirements for the formative phase is for them to do their equipment and order checkoff sheets. Once those are done, they move right into the team leader, like mentorship phase, so the competency phase, which is the second phase. Let's see, something important about this. The ALS candidates are not in charge. You are always going to be in charge throughout this whole process. You are the paramedic in charge. Whatever you say ultimately goes. If your preceptee or the ALS candidate has a different opinion, frankly, they can hold that opinion until you can talk about it somewhere else. But we'll talk about that actually in a little bit in the confrontation management stuff. If you have any questions about where the ALS candidate is in the process, please ask them, because it's how you treat them, essentially how you go throughout the day and what your role as the preceptor is, directly relates to what phase they're in. So it's imperative that you know what phase they're in order to have a successful day. The average time for an ALS candidate to get their order and equipment review done is 2 to 5 shifts. It's just literally a check sheet, just like we've done in the past. You read the order, you go over the order, and check it off. It's that simple. It's on the ALS candidate to make sure that they keep up with that and constantly make progress in that. Because as soon as they're done that, they move on. Yep. So, any other questions about that? Please let me know. This is a more of an observational phase for the ALS candidate. I'm watching you what to do. Then the next phase, second phase, is called the competency phase. Competency, because the ALS candidate is becoming competent and confident in how we do EMS in Howard County. That is a really good time for us to be mentoring the ALS candidate to help them develop, to be patient with them because they're not going to be like you, and that's okay. Um, this is where they're going to be meeting the bulk of their minimum competencies, like the refusals and all the stuff as a team lead. So in this phase, they are going to be always going to be the team lead. They're going to be initiating patient contact, the assessment, and they're going to be assigning you tasks. And your main objective is to help them make good decisions, help them be confident in their ability, and to evaluate their potential for being a independent clinician. If a student gets or a ALS candidate gets reviewed by their preceptor as being an independent, as a just checking that off as yes, they can move on to the team leader evaluation phase as soon as all those minimum competency stuff is checked off. And then that's great. Now that's hopefully speeding up the process. And that's leads us into the final phase, which is the team leader evaluation phase. It's the team leader evaluation because the ALS candidate is being evaluated on whether or not they can function as an independent ALS clinician. This is where you are mostly, as the preceptor, just a silent partner. The preceptee or the ALS candidate is working closely with their BLS partner, and you are standing more to the side, allowing them to work as a team together as a team of two, lending a hand as the silent partner with whatever tasks that need to be done in a timely fashion. You can help smooth that out. But ultimately, the idea is for you to be observing the candidate and their ability to make good EMS decisions and handle the scene and patient management and delegating tasks to their BL provider and stuff like that. Um, they're not going to be perfect. They're going to be slower than you. Their flow might be a little off. That's totally fine. They still get, as long as they were able to function on their own and didn't make any protocol or treatment errors uh, based on the protocol, not simply just your opinion. Like, oh, I wouldn't have done it like that. That doesn't count as a negative mark for them. If they were able to follow protocol and then ask for help when they need help and to recognize that they need help, that's totally fine. I want them to be able to reach out to other ALS providers on scene and say, "Hey, can you help me with this?" Or "I'm not sure about this." If they do that, that's totally okay too. They're still operating within the independent function realm of what we expect for new providers to be functioning as. So that's the goal for this evaluation, is just to make sure, could they have functioned by themselves to some degree, not by themselves as an ALS clinician, but by themselves as like between them and their BLS partner, and between them and any other ALS providers on scene. So I guess it's a long explanation for that, but it is what it is. Um, the next section of this is be kind. I know it's kind of silly to say, but it really is comes down to you as the field instructor, as the preceptor. You set the learning environment for the candidate. And it's really imperative that we set a positive learning environment, meaning that they feel safe in learning and making mistakes and asking questions, and not feel like they're going to be judged or made fun of or even looked down upon simply because they didn't know something that was maybe simple to you but not so simple to them, stuff like that. So set the learning environment in a positive way, encourage them. They will not be copies of you as a clinician, right? They're not going to be copies of everything they do. Is not going to be everything that you would do, right? And that's okay. I want us to be able to set the environment in such a way where we can help them become the best versions of themselves and have their own flow and their own way of doing things. That's still according to protocol and quality EMS care, that kind of stuff. So oh, this goes into it. Another piece of that is setting your expectations early as a preceptor. We are all different. All preceptors are different, and that's okay. There are no primary preceptors, so one candidate is not going to be working primarily with just one person or one preceptor. So I need each of you, if you haven't worked with someone before, to set your expectations at the beginning of the shift. Um, like what my role is, what your role is as the candidate, how I communicate. If you were going to make a mistake, this is what I'm going to say. Um, you explain things that matter to you, like getting an EKG early matters to me. Getting EKG in the house matters to me. That's not technically in protocol, but it's just part of your flow as preceptor. Okay, cool. I can do that as a candidate. All right, I can do that. So setting those early is really helpful in making it a successful day. And this goes back to asking them what their phase is, because if it's formative competency or team leader evaluation, you won't know if you haven't worked with them, or if you haven't worked with them in a while, they might have graduated from one to the other, and you have to make sure, because then that drastically changes how you're going to operate that day. If you are going to be the team lead, or if you are just going to be the mentor, or if you're going to be the silent partner. And these are completely different roles for the day. So just be aware of that. Plan for confrontation. We are all unique individuals. We all provide care in a different way. We all have different personalities, and sometimes those personalities clash, and that's fine. We all get it. So there will always be differences. I need you guys to have a plan to deal with this. If something comes up and you feel like you're going to start getting into an argument over whatever treatment plan that you are dealing with, I need you to communicate what you as the preceptor is going to do in those situations. For instance, this is a good example. When I know, I'll read this. When I notice that you are about to make a mistake, I'm talking to the ALS candidate. I will say, "May I help you with that?" As the preceptor, I will tell my ALS candidate, "Hey, may I help you with that?" When I say this, I need you to step back and find another task that needs to be done. So what I imagine here is that the ALS candidate is providing care. They're about to give a medication. Let's give nitro, for instance, and they're about to deliver a one dose, and then they're going to go and deliver another dose because they're talking and they get distracted or whatever. You can say as the preceptor, "Hey, can I help you with that?" And I want the candidate to immediately say yes, please, or yes, and then I will find another task to do. An EKG. I can set up another IV bag. If even if one is already hung, step back and actually go set up another one just to have some space and some time to kind of recollect your thoughts and find another task. If another task is clearly need to be done, like an IV or an EKG, start that while the preceptor takes care of the treatment of the patient. If at any time you as the preceptor feel you need to take complete control of the situation and have the candidate step completely away, make sure you have a phrase like that ready to go. Like when I say, "May I help you with that? Would you mind waiting over here?" Or you can watch this, you can watch here. Something like that is a trigger for the candidate to know, like, okay, I'm stepping back and we're going to talk about this later. It's not punitive. It's just, we need to take control of the situation. It might be a lot of stuff happening at once. And as the paramedic in charge, I need to do something right now to take care of the patient. And I don't want to be distracted by the learning environment. So you need to have a way of stepping out of that learning environment and taking complete control of the scene. And having a phrase like that might help. Um, you can always remember to use de-escalation techniques for all your interactions with the patient or with the ALS candidate, like your coworkers. And those are simply like listen, stay calm, affirm how the other person feels. Uh, I like to say that all feelings are fine and okay. It's just how we express them is the issue. If I get angry, it's totally fine to be angry. But if I'm acting out of anger and I say things in anger, that's not okay. So it's up to you as the role model to exemplify these things. It's like, hey, this is how we operate as EMS clinicians here in Howard County. Um, and sometimes it's totally fine if you need to separate like get separation from the ALS candidate if you feel like it's getting too much to deal with, both the hectic scene, the EMS scene, and dealing with the ALS candidate who is for whatever reason not on the same page as you. It's totally fine to ask them to jump up front. But make sure you communicate that at the beginning of the shift. Hey, if stuff is going down and I need to take over and I need you to kind of extricate yourself from the whole situation so I don't have to think about it. I don't have to think about what you're doing. I need you to you just have to have a phrase of what you're going to do. And to for there to be no hard feelings. If I ask you to go sit up front, just please quietly just go sit up front and we will talk about it. We're going to go over why I did that. It could be just a failing on my part as a preceptor because I couldn't deal with all this other sensory input. I needed just to focus on what I needed to do for the patient as the paramedic in charge. That is totally fine. Just make sure you express that early so they don't feel bad. And here's a big one. At no time should you be arguing with another clinician about what to do in front of anyone. This is an absolute no go. You cannot be arguing in front of the patient, in front of another Howard County employee, in front of the police, in front of bystanders. If you have to have a discussion, you must do it in private. If you can't have a discussion that's calm, logical, and kind in the moment, then you need to stop all discussion. The ALS candidate needs to extricate themselves and either just go sit in the front of the ambulance or what have you. You just need to stop and focus on the patient care, and then restart that conversation later in a safe place, privately. All right. Shift review, almost done. This is super important, and one thing that I'm seeing a lot of preceptors are lacking, not lacking, but they seem to forget about this. It's very important to do your shift review as soon as possible following the shift. If the shift ends at 1900, it's totally fine for the candidate, the ALS candidate, to submit their stuff to you by 1800. If you don't get any more calls, that's totally fine. They can hit the submit button, and if you get a call after that, you can just return it to them, and they can add it. It's really easy. That gives you time while on duty, on overtime, while being paid to do the shift review. And if you get halfway through the review and you get another call, you can submit it back to them, and then they'll submit it back to you, and you can finish the review later. I just can't uh, recommend more that you guys do the review before that evening ends. The reason for this is it allows the ALS candidate the opportunity to learn and get the feedback that they require for the next shift. So, for example, if you have a candidate who submitted their paperwork to you at 1900, you don't want to do it at 1900 for whatever reason. It could be back-to-back calls. It could be dinner time. It could be any reason you just didn't want to do it or didn't have the opportunity to do it, and you delay and you do it next shift. Well, the candidate is precepting next shift as well, and they won't be able to learn through your feedback um, what to improve on for next shift as clearly. So just try to do it as soon as you can to help them along the process as fast as possible. Um, and if you find that there are some real barriers to doing it, let me know, and maybe we can help work through those and eliminate some of the barriers. You just got to ask the question, and if I keep having to send stuff back to you, it's a good indication that you honestly might need to step up. I need everyone to be kind of adults about this and do the right thing and do the review. Do what you essentially agreed to do by becoming preceptors. And part of what you have essentially agreed to do is this review of the patient, a review of the ALS candidate in a timely fashion. I have purposely not set parameters around like when it needs to be done and what the follow-up disciplinary action will be if it doesn't get done, because we're all adults, and I'm going to treat you like adults by setting clear expectations and holding you accountable for those expectations. If you think those expectations are unreasonable, let me know. Gosh, dude, I'm not like thinking I'm like the a be all end all of precepting managers. So if you think something's unreasonable, let me know and we'll talk about it. Could very well be I didn't think about something. So, if you're not going to do the review, at least make sure the ALS candidate submitted their documentation to you before they leave to go to another assignment. That is super important. They must at least have submitted it to you before their shift ends. That's one thing I am holding them accountable to. Um, I'll try to send reminders to do your review weekly. And again, let's just be adults about this. As a preceptor, you are agreeing to do your part. I'm here to help you honor that agreement. All right, that is it. Thank you all for stepping up and becoming preceptors this year. I am always looking for feedback. Please say something if you notice anything we can do better. I'm always looking to improve, and I'm excited to make this a better process. So, good luck. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.